What are the key fundamentals to improve with attacking in Clash of Clans? Well, I have compiled my top 5 list in order to help you get some more 3 stars, so let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel then, guys. I'm your host, Judo Sloth. So I have my top 5 tips. Normally I write everything down. I was actually planning this video out on the road yesterday, so I have them all down on my phone and I will be going through them in detail for you. I like to bring educational but entertaining Clash of Clans videos, so if that's the type of content you want to see, I would recommend subscribing and also turning on the notification bell. If you do want to help support me in game, you can do so by using code JUDO within your settings before making any purchases. It is much appreciated, my friends. But let's go through the 5 tips. These are not necessarily in any particular order. I will have video chapters so you can come back to the video to review a certain tip if you need to, but let's get into the first one. Tip number 1 is all to do with funneling. Now, I will be moving chronologically through the attack. With the 5 tips, it's not necessarily moving up to the best tip. However, arguably, funneling is the number 1 tip I could give you. If you do not get the funneling correct, then you are doomed from the off. So what exactly is funneling? I actually have a whole separate video on this entitled Funneling Explained, a basic through advanced tutorial, and I will have that linked down in the description alongside any other relevant videos and also my social media platforms. But let's give you an overview for the moment. So funneling in itself is controlling the AI of your troops, making sure that they go exactly where you want them to. So in this initial case, we used a baby dragon and the balloons to force the queen down towards the western area of the base. Now we're actually using the queen, yes, to get value, but also to create pathing for the hybrid, in essence, another word for funneling. So the queen has taken out this entire northern area, and the hybrid, I think, is a really good example of giving you funneling from start to finish. Yes, you have to get the initial part funneled, whatever your kill squad is to the attack, this one being a queen charge, but also you need to get the funnel throughout the attack, and that is what the king and the siege barracks are for, down to the bottom of the base. So you can see the hybrid coming in towards the town hall. There's nowhere else for the hybrid to go. We have this clear path straight through the base that it can move through, and that is all thanks to the funneling of this attack, getting it right initially and then making sure to maintain it so that the hybrid could move through effectively. Now, funneling takes a number of different forms. You have to funnel for defense targeting troops, regular targeting troops, and these are a whole different set of skills. It depends on the base design in itself, whether your troop is a ranged troop or not, and there's a number of different methods. If you do want a detailed breakdown on funneling, I would highly recommend at the end of this video checking out the Funneling Explained video. In fact, I will indeed have it linked at the end of this one so you can move straight across to it. Tip number 2 is understanding that there are different phases to an attack. It is not a case of just sending everybody in. That will not work. You do have to try and break down the base into different sections, and to keep it simple, you have an opening phase, a main phase, which is the main attack, and a closing phase, and I will be explaining all of these as we move through. Now, do understand that with my videos, the gameplay is often max level, Town Hall 13, but it can be applicable to any Town Hall level. It's a lot harder if I were to show Town Hall 7 gameplay, for example, for a Town Hall 13 to relate to my tips. However, if I show Town Hall 13 gameplay, it's a bit easier to work the other way, but just know that all of these tips are appropriate irrespective of your Town Hall level. So the phases of your attack. The opening phase. We mentioned briefly in the previous tip, the Queen Charge. Now the Queen Charge is one entry of an attack. You have the Queen Charge, the Kill Squad, which is just sending in a portion of the attack in order to take out a certain area, get a couple of key defenses, and also get value. You also have a Sui Hero method, or a hero dive, which you see nicely demonstrated by Ronnie. Now you often have the lightning spells as an initial phase as well, and the Sui Hero is an extension of that, but essentially it is a kill squad. Irrespective of how you look at this, the opening phase is a kill squad, whether that be troops that you send in, irrespective of how much base you're trying to take out, whether it be a Sui Hero or a Queen Charge. You're trying to take out a section of the base to create pathing, which is the funneling we talked about, and also get value. So if we briefly pause here, notice that the heroes have taken out the top area of the base, and with that we got some key defenses in that of a scatter shot and the expos. But also with the lightning spells, we can almost extend that area that we took out, and now look at the base which is left. We can control the pathing of our Lava Loon, and this moves into the second phase, the main portion of the attack. Irrespective of what it is, whether it be dragons, Lava Loon, Hog Riders, Miners, the Hogs and Miners, the hybrid attack, you need to understand what your main phase of the attack is and how you are going to set that up. So for a Lava Loon attack, again linking into funneling, the balloons are defense targeting. So any pathing and funneling you make for the main part of the attack has to consider the pathing of defenses, and that's why the balloons came in at separate angles, in order to clump through the middle of the base and follow the battle blimp towards the town hall and taking that down. So that is the main phase of the attack. Tip number 3 is going to pretty much link into the main phase, but let's talk about the closing phase. Now this is very important, more important than you might think actually, and most of the time it could be relatively simple. It could be as simple as cleanup. But it's very important, making sure that we have minions coming into the side of the base to help clean up the trash buildings. The balloons, which are targeting the defenses, leave the storages and any of the trash buildings, they are non-defense buildings, behind. So you have to send in some troops in order to take that out. However, the closing phase, as important as cleanup is not just cleanup. It could be that you have an archer tower or a back-end wizard tower that you can use 1 or 2 balloons in order to take that out and just help with the closing part of the attack. It might be you're not getting the 3-star and you have to drive up that percentage as high as possible. Again, this is the closing part of the attack, making sure that you are carefully picking out the building so you can get the highest percentage possible. Tip number 3 is all to do with spell usage. That is selecting the correct spell for a given strategy. I will be giving you some examples of the most popular strategies, but also using your spells to the most effectiveness. Now, the first example I want to explain, which I did a whole separate video on in terms of how to use the new lightning spell, is the lightning and earthquake method. Remember, it takes 7 lightning spells to take out a clan castle, but ensure you can get some added value with it. So we took out the air sweeper to the left of the clan castle and the right by alternating where the lightning spells were dropped. Then with the earthquake spell, putting that to the northwest of it ensures that we get damage onto the eagle and the scatter shot, ensuring maximum effectiveness of our spells. Now, the lightning spell is a good example of getting the best benefit out of your spell placement by hitting other buildings, but you should do this with every single spell that you place. What secondary objectives could you achieve? I actually did a video in my A Tip for Everything series, a tip for every spell in Clash of Clans, and I will have that one linked down below because I think it will be a great reference point if you want to improve with your spells. But take a look at this example. Waited just a second until the queen was taking damage from the expos, but also take a look at the placement. We have the healers inside its radius, radius, which is the primary objective, but also the queen. She will get added damage from being inside that rage spell. So we perfectly place it to get both of the troops within it, but also in terms of placement, what it means is as the healers move forward, they are still in the rage spell radius, making sure we are getting the maximum time effectiveness from that rage spell. And if you're doing a queen charge, that is exactly what you want to mimic. Let's give you a couple of examples for spell usage with different strategies. If you are using a heavy ground attack, such as a P.E.K.K.A. Smash or Yeti Smash, you might want to use jump spells or earthquake spells. Pathing through the base is incredibly important alongside rage spells. If it's a Lava Loon attack, probably haste spells are going to be useful because you need to haste the loons through the areas of splash because they do a lot of damage. They are just slow, so you want to speed them up. However, with a mass style attack, the hybrid, for example, hogs or miners, the heal spell is going to be your best friend. Similar to the rage spell we just talked about with the queen charge, make sure you are leading the hogs and miners into that heal spell so they are inside it for the most amount of time. You also want to heal over the biggest areas of splash or the highest damage, and try not to use a rage over the top of a heal spell at the same time, because you're raging the troops out of the heal spell. Tip number 4 is all to do with your awareness of the base and of the attack. Now, the next 2 tips are not necessarily with regards to placement of the troops, but they are highly important for you to improve your attacking. So, awareness. This is quite complex. I'll try and explain it as simple as possible, and this is a really good example. This was a 3-star I just got in the Clan War Leagues, but it was probably the luckiest 3-star I have ever received. I wanted my queen to walk in towards the town hall, but you can see that's not happening, and that actually raises an interesting point. Irrespective of how much you plan, how much you improve, you will never get the 3-star every single time. There will be things that go wrong, and that will be explained a bit more in the next tip. However, moving back to awareness, I quickly realized the queen was going not where I wanted her to. I was trying to adjust with wizards, but it didn't happen. So I needed to change something drastically, having that awareness that my plan wasn't working. Now, I actually wanted to use my king and siege barracks at the top, with the hybrid moving through the center because the queen would have been walking down this side. Because it wasn't happening, I had to adjust where I placed the hybrid, so I decided to use my king and siege barracks down to 6 o'clock so that I could drive the hybrid into the town hall, ensuring that I got the 2 stars, but that I still had a good shot at the 3. This is a lot of the stuff I explained in my top 3 tips for the Clan War Leagues, my most recent video. However, moving back to the attack, yes, it is working out when the attack is not going right, but it's also having that awareness when it is going right. Let's say, for example, with the rage spell that we explained in the previous tip, when the rage was used as the expos were locking onto the queen. Don't be too fixated watching your queen. You need to be watching the defenses and when they are about to hit your troops so as to know when to use your spells. Exactly the same with the Eagle Artillery Fire, with the expo locking onto our troops, with the fact that the Eagle Artillery is still alive. You can't just watch your troops, you need to be trying to watch the defenses and the overall greater picture. Now, this is something that, again, I told you it was complex. It is. It's not something that you can move away from this YouTube video and have nailed down and be able to do. This is something that as you play the game, as you practice, you will just get better at this. But having that conscious awareness of it and trying to glance up at the other areas of the base and what defenses are shooting at your troop, you will get more into the habit of looking at that overall picture. I hope that makes sense. Now, for a lot of the pro players, and you might want to try and do this as well as you get more competitive, they will have somebody on voice that is actually explaining the attack to them. For example, place a miner across at 2 o'clock. That would go in towards the eagle and slowly pick it off. It might be that someone notices a Tesla pop at the other end of the base. You're busy watching the hybrid. they might tell you about the Tesla at the other side of the base. So you have someone on voice that is telling you things that you might not be seeing, and it helps to act as a spotter. But having that awareness of the attack is highly important, and I tried to explain that as simply as possible, but try your best to work on that. The fifth and final tip before we move you along to the funneling explained video. Remember that funneling is the single most important thing you can do in Clash of Clans, so I would highly recommend watching that video next. But tip number 5 is analyzing and adjusting. Now, I talked about adjusting mid-attack in the previous tip, but this is with regards to reviewing your attacks. What could you have done better? Because if you don't review your attacks, you're never going to improve. So I will give you an example of what I think I could have improved in my attack I just showed you, but I challenge you. After your attack, when the display screen comes up, just think about, even if it's very briefly, what you could have changed. Even if it was a 3-star, you will never improve if you don't think about what you could have done differently. So let's take a look at the attack I just did. Now, I placed the baby dragon onto the elixir collector. I think this might seem very little. I think if I placed the baby dragon onto the army camp first, so it took that out, moved to the elixir collector, and then took that out, it would have changed the attack drastically, because watch this. This little 2-tile step by the queen, because the army camp was still up, moved her focus. I think she would have gone to the archer tower first, then moved in over and not gone up to the gold mines if she hadn't have taken that little 2-step to the side. Now, that is very little, but that's the type of stuff you want to be looking at. It might be totally different. There might be something clear that you could have changed, but also think about what you did well so that you can mimic that moving forward. For this attack, I think I adjusted very quickly. Trying to place the wizards, I was a little bit unfortunate with the Teslas, but granted, being able to adjust and quickly see that greater picture, I think I did pretty well. So make sure that you are recognizing what you did well, so you can do that again next time, but also what you could have done differently. Maybe you need a completely different strategy. Did you just choose the wrong strategy for the base? Was it the funneling that you could have done better? Maybe the spell placement. Could you have frozen a different area or slightly better timing? Try to look at what you could have done better, because you will never improve if you don't. So if you do want to check out the funneling explained video, I have it linked here. I would highly recommend it. The other videos I referenced are in the description, and also the subscribe button is here. But that wraps it up for this one, my friends. You guys take care, and I will see you in the next video.